I'm also having tea, but I can't reveal the brand because we're talking about intellectual tea. But I'm ready to, spill the tea.
Ah, yes. Spill the tea on intellectual proper tea.
Wow. Okay. So, hey everyone. Welcome to another episode of Pen.
Noobs.
I'm Ryan,
Jika.
and we are actually now on season 2 of the Pen Noobs Podcast.
1 year. We're done. This is a new beginning.
New beginning. It's a new beginning. And in today's episode, as what we've mentioned at the intro, we're going to talk about the tea on intellectual property.
Yeah, but before we get to that, and maybe even before we decide to get to noob discoveries, if we have any, today marks a very important day in Ryan and my life. Because one, it's the start of season 2, okay? But also, we are officially ending a journey that has held us in its grasp for the past, how many years for you?
7.
Mine 8. Well, officially it's 8, but it's like 8.5 because substitute life.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're moving forward, career wise, and what? No brands. So we're gonna open a fortune cookie because, well, let's see where this goes. Hopefully, it's good. I wonder what our fortune is. Magkalat. Okay, Ryan, are you ready for our fortune?
Put it closer. Put it closer to the mic again. Like rub it with a cookie. I need to hear that.
This is the fortune rubbing against itself paper. I will eat. No, it's gonna be noisy later. Wait. Let's read the fortune first, and it's kind of anticlimactic. It says that you, or in this case, we, are a bundle of buzzing energy that's always on the go.
Ooh, energy. I think we need that as we
I
move.
think we need that. That's true. But for now, we are energized sufficiently enough to talk about what we got to talk about in episode 1 of season 2 of the Pen Noobs podcast. Are we going to do noob discoveries?
We could. I don't really have anything in particular, but I do have something interesting, which is not really new, but you'll just laugh. You'll just laugh.
Go.
Okay, so so Hobonichi has this. Well, this is not a Hobonichi cover. Well, it is from Galen Leather. They have this rivet band there, like the rivet band. For the past few like months, I've been tying it this way. There, like a hair tie.
Okay.
There. Only to find out that there's another way to do it, and that is by
Oh, it's like a belt now. It's not like a hair tie. It's like a belt.
yeah, new discovery.
I did not know because like when I got like that kind of case for my notebooks, they always ask me, do you want the garter? And I'm like, no. So other than aesthetics, Ryan, what's the point of the garter?
Oh, okay. Well, it's more of because I want things to be closed.
That should have been logical.
Like no spilling of secrets. Like keep it in. No. But seriously though, on a serious note, you know how the notebook when you put it like or this specific leather case, if you put it inside a bag and then it's not closed, it might open and so the paper it might get deformed when it rubs in or such as other things. So yeah, I just want things to just really be closed. That's it. That's the only reason why I needed the band.
I have no band ambitions, but at least now I totally get it. Yay! Oh, do I have a noob discovery? I'm not really sure because I haven't been acquiring and I haven't been going on Instagram to look at like other like pen things. Like, is it possible to fall out of love of the hobby? No, hopefully not. Or only to a certain extent. Wait for some other episode for that. But yeah, you guys know that I've been very much um building my leather crafting brand thingy. You can follow it on at Jika in Instagram. But like, I don't know. I think my noob discovery is that apparently it's possible for people to see whether or not their leather works are handcrafted or hand stitched or not. Because right now, I can't, like, whenever I'm making something, I get so obsessive about the straightness of my stitching. And when it's excessively straight, I realize that most of what I have is machine stitched stuff. And life is so much easier for machine made things. So it's actually making me think about like a lot of things about the brand for the, and of course the products that I'm gonna make and the pricing that's involved in it. But like, so I think like personally, my noob discovery is that I now understand one, why there's a premium for leather goods. It's not just the material, it's also the craftsmanship, but also it's the handiwork. Like, maybe this is my new thing wherein I'd much prefer getting leather goods knowing the hands that touched the leather. Maybe because I don't know, let's support small to medium business enterprises, that sort of thing. And this is not to hate or to like, what do you call it? Yeah, to hate on the products that are made, machine made, but rather that I think that it's time for me to transition also into that, just so that you know it's another little niche community of our greater pen hobby that I think needs greater appreciation. So that's mine.
Wow. Well, it's not it's not necessarily about pens, but it is about stationaries and the things we actually do acquire. So it's a nice perspective to hear it from someone who's actually doing the leather work and the craft, as opposed to someone who just simply consumes it. It kind of
Yeah, exactly. Like now that I'm doing it, I'm realizing a lot of the things that I neglected before doing the leather crafting stuff. Like yun nga, the straightness of the stitching, machine made, or like if it's not machine made, because I can tell it now. It's like, wow, I totally get why I paid such a premium on this product because I know that yeah, the leather's great, the handiwork is there. That means that that person has practiced enough and invested enough in the tools to get it right. And it's like, oh, it's so amazing. I just want to go to Japan now. I'm sorry. Japan, I keep sending you stuff because they
yeah,
have, it's like everything's handmade.
yeah. And speaking of doing the craft and actually doing things, creating leather goods, comes also, of course, designing, conceptualizing. And I think that's one of the key issues that we do want to talk about in today's episode. Something related to, of course, intellectual property and, of course, copyright and all of those things. I mean, the hobby itself is an opportunity for people to be creative. They can be creative when it comes to how they use their stationaries. They can create their own goods. We also have people who even concoct their own fountain pen ink, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we also have even people who have collaborations with fountain pen brands and all of that stuff, wherein they can create a new design, or at times they could create materials or advertisements that can be used by brands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, actually, as our first episode, this is like, why are we doing this? Well, one, we really enjoy doing the big con episode. So maybe that's it. Like, we kind of like the think pieces a bit and like doing a bit of research. So, and seeing how that research kind of matches up with what we ourselves do, what we believe, and also, you know, what the community might benefit from. And what we realize is that, I mean, obviously, having a podcast is content creation, but I mean, our listeners, are often on our Instagram, and they themselves have their Instagram pages which are public. And like, you can't really discount the fact that the people on Instagram in our community are also partaking in this process of creation and owning property. And it's stuff that we share with each other, and often we don't even think of the fact that we're sharing property with our peers, right? And we just think like, oh, I like this, I will share it to you, and pray to God that we will respect the boundaries of things while also enjoying things. But like, there are rare times wherein those boundaries might be breached.
Yeah. Actually, here's the thing. If we try to trace more or less like the historical view about how things were, we can of course start with life in the agricultural revolution and then the industrial revolution, and now we're in the information revolution, they say, or some would even call it the digital revolution. And a lot of these revolutions are rooted upon what is the commodity back then. Agricultural revolution, obviously, agriculture. Industrial revolution would be material goods.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are in the information revolution or digital revolution. And so the commodity here is information. And a lot of the things that we produce online are not necessarily tangible, they're intangible, but they can actually be measured, and they can actually be, we can actually cost them, or we can put a price onto them already. But a lot of the information we also disseminate online or post online doesn't really have with a price tag. And it's so interesting how, with everyone's ability to be prosumers, consumers, and producers of information, we don't necessarily demand for a fee, because it's all part of being a member of a community. Yeah, being part of an online community comes with that practice or exercise of contributing or adding value to that community, because it promotes that kind of sense of belongingness. So yeah, more or less just a background about what's happening with people. I was actually quite curious, like, why do people even share? Why do people even create these content? And learning about these things and actually talking about them with my students actually in my class. This is how things go. It's all part of this system of community building, and likewise community belongingness. And humans are social creatures. It's not like a brands or people would say, oh, we need to create a community, but it just naturally happens because we are social beings. And likewise, going back to the point about stationaries, fountain pens, we're all part of different communities. But likewise, it's also a bigger one wherein people are just really into stationery, fountain pens. And you have smaller ones like Hobonichi community, or you have Traveler's Notebook community, or you have Galen Leather community, right? And then even for the brands in particular. But the thing is, people do that because they get value out of it. And it's not necessarily monetary value, but it's really more about that sense of belongingness, being able to contribute to a community and feeling and thinking that you are able to create strong ties with people. Yeah.
That's true. And this is again not we don't plan to be downers, guys. Okay, we're just here because we really want to talk about like the things that we often don't think about. Like for example, and I'll just get a bit theoretical here because I did the research. So let's like just do it now. Foundational stuff, get out of the way, and like let's think about whether or not we have experiences related to these concepts. So first and foremost, and I found out about this through YouTube. I'll link the video. It's this she's actually a lawyer in the Philippines, and she's siblings with our dearest friend Jean. Okay,
Oh.
si attorney. So I'll link her video, and she was talking. So she does a blog at first about going to her sister's art exhibit, but like that smoothly transitions into her giving us like an overview about intellectual property rights as generally and as applicable to the Philippines. So generally speaking, I'd had no idea that you have intellectual property rights upon the creation of something, whether it be like a design, whether it be a written work, whether it be, and I think this comes with it, whether it be that spread on your page, on your Hobonichi, and like kasama din, included in that immediate intellectual property right is if you snap a picture of your own spread and then post it on Instagram. There's no need to announce it. Immediately, you own it. Okay. And of course, more often than not, I think the baseline is that people respect that boundary, right? Because obviously, we'd likely stop speaking if everything would be, taken against us. We wouldn't produce content if everything had the great potential or the frequent potential to be held against us. But there are certain cases, especially with artistic and content works, wherein you got to think about like your intellectual property rights in practice. And apparently, subsumed under that big IPR, let's just call it that, intellectual property rights or IPR, are two further rights for every creator, content, artist, teacher, even. We're subsumed under this when we even make our lesson plans. But there's such a thing as like your economic rights as a creator and your moral rights as a creator. And obviously, economic rights are easy because that just states that pretty much you have the right to benefit financially from anything and everything that you create. Of course, there are exceptions. Like, for example, if you create something and you're employed under a company and you sign the contract and they say that everything you create is ours, okay, then you, sorry. Okay. Well, then, where
Gonna
you,
say later. Yeah, go.
okay, sorry. So, like, if you're employed in a big company, I think, like, there are a lot of companies that hire their own in house advertising and social media people. So, whatever they make under that contract and under that employment will not be theirs. Of course, I mean, they will still be compensated, but it's different kind of compensation. And that is an exception. What's more complicated than economic rights under IPR is what you call moral rights. And like, as with all morals, when are morals ever easy? They're not. Okay.
Mud
So,
conversation.
So, in order to go through this, I had like trouble figuring this out, but thank you to the DACS. I'm giving you credit, DACS. It states here, and it's a UK site, it says that moral rights are personal rights that can protect your reputation as an artist and I guess as a content creator and the integrity of your work or your content. And subsumed under these moral rights, at least under UK law, but I think we all likely have a variant of this, is the right of attribution, the right to object to derogatory treatment, the right to object to false attribution, the right of privacy in certain files and photographs. I think what's most important and what we most often encounter is the right of attribution, and then somewhat equally derogatory treatment and false attribution. But like the right of attribution is easy. And honestly, our social media platforms already make that right of attribution almost automatic. Like when we post something on Pen Noobs Podcast and like say we tag Twisby and then Twisby reposts us, immediately they attribute our content to us. And we benefit from that, right? Obviously, it's not monetary, so it's not an economic right, but it is a moral right. So everything has a price. It's just like whether or not it's monetary or not. The other thing, though, obviously, sometimes, and I guess be wary of that, when you produce content, people can take your content and not give you that attribution. Or in the case of, say, false attribution, well, then they give credit for your work to someone else. Okay. And even worse is when, say, you create content and it's altered against, say, your own ethos or your aesthetic or even what you want to do with that work. As I think the finest example is, do you remember that frog, Pepe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Pepe the Frog. I watched the documentary recently. Apparently, what?
The documentary?
There's a documentary about it. Yeah, and about the artist. Because apparently, guys, and I bet a lot of you know this, but like, obviously, Pepe the Frog meme, right? Apparently, he wasn't a meme. The artist didn't intend him to be a meme. The artist didn't intend him to become representative of the far right and of a particular incel community. And I mean, like, that's the finest example of the breaching of the right. What do you call it? The right. Gosh, wait, I can't find it. The right to object to derogatory treatment. Because obviously, the artist's intention. I mean, and you will Google it, and I will link the stuff in our description. But the artist's intention was not far right. The artist's intention was not to incite hate. Um, and then when different far right individuals and communities started using Pepe the Frog um, in their propaganda and even in children's storybooks, that was so sad. But yeah, finally he just put his foot down and exercised his right to like sue these people and gain, at least try his best to make Pepe the Frog a nice thing again. But like, it's the internet, it's the information age. You said it yourself, like things can get out of hand and there are multiple exchanges online. So like, that's the basics. Everyone has immediate and enacted rights to whatever it is they produce, and everyone has the right to benefit from it economically, as in financially or morally, which is just not financially. So yes.
And one of the reasons we're actually talking about is in relation to us, mentioning about communities. That is what we've said earlier. Being part of a community, you feel not necessarily compelled, but there is that part of you that you're prompted to share content, right? It's not really for you to be noticed. Well, that could be one factor, but it's really about that sense of belongingness. Posting something and seeing people like your post, you feel, oh, I belong. Oh, people like what I post, and then it's sharing that really that the hobby. It's sharing the joy of the hobby, and that's why people do that. But there are also instances wherein brands, especially for those who become more popular now, who get sponsorship. So they create content which are sponsored. We're not saying that that's wrong, actually, because that's really a mechanism in order for advertising to and marketing to happen, especially during this time. But there are also instances wherein there may be a fine line between giving you a sponsorship good, like let's say, I don't know, a pen or an ink, and then using, and then you as a content creator will create content. You'll create your journal spreads, you'll create beautiful content with the pen or the ink used in that spread. And then eventually that will be used by the brand. Or in essence, the brand will take ownership of that specific image that you have produced. So that's when things become a little bit complicated when brands actually don't acknowledge that it's your work. You know how brands spend a lot of money for advertising. They spend a lot of money in order to create content, a perfect desk. But you, a content creator, can create that authentically because you are a living, breathing human being who actually uses the product. And the problem now is, what if the brand takes ownership of that, or they use your photo, but they don't directly cite you, or they don't
attribute it to you. Breached.
So why exactly are we talking about this? Because I think over the past few weeks, there have been stories about certain brands who actually use the content of other content creators or influencers in the community. And it's one of the point for discussion now because, of course, on one end, we would like to contribute to community building. But on the other hand, what is the trade-off exactly? So we're talking about like what value do you get out of this? And Jika talked about moral and economic rights. So if you don't get money out of it,
what else do you get?
Yeah. What else do you get? Or ideally, of course, you should have your moral rights there. But what if both are not afforded?
Yeah.
Right?
It comes down to like, I love our economic stocks because it always comes down to like some like theoretically Marxist ideas. Like, I mean, just compensation, guys. Like, obviously, if a big company takes advantage of your content, or like, I mean, the base, obviously, they're big. The least they can do is ask permission, right? The least they can do is ask permission, or the other option is at least put your name on it. And like that's just like basic common sense and basic respect. So, like, how do you say it? Like, I think I'm just like, gonna cite a few examples. Like, remember when we were starting out and you posted your Pelican pen, and then
Yeah.
like one of the comments was from Pelican Passion. That's a legit Pelican brand, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's the point that we're trying to get at. As long as they, I mean, the least they can do is ask permission, and it's your due diligence to exercise, well, due diligence and give your consent or refuse that offer. Because again, it's your content. And like, there are times, like, I think I'm subject to this as well. Like, when people ask me, oh, are you willing to do this? Or are you willing to feature this? And I always have to stop myself, or I'm always in shock a bit. Like, I want to see terms and conditions, yo. Or like, I want to see exactly what I'm going to get from this. Because when, and guys, we're totally amenable to collaborations, partnerships. You totally know this. But it every time an offer comes up or every time an invite comes up, you just gotta think because you're giving a part of yourself, and it's not just like you're not giving a body part; you're giving away your time, diba? Which and if you're a content creator, you gotta think about it. Like, I could be spending this time creating content that I know will directly benefit me to a greater extent than maybe that offer. And really, how do you call it? We just want to encourage mindfulness, siguro in that area. I guess I'm invested in it right now because you'll notice, like, very creative, Jika. Like, I like dip my toes in everything because I have too many hobbies. But I know, sorry, but I know that with everything that I create, there's a potential to sell, right? And there's a potential to gain. Like, for example, this is with Eunice with sushi. Remember the pen cube, guys? Quite a lot of you availed of that in Fountain Pen Palenque and on Instagram through Eunice's promotion and wood.ph. I made that design sometime last year and they liked it. And then they asked me, oh, tamo, first rule, they asked me, is it okay if we reproduce this? And I said, yes, all right. G, respect, done. And the thing that we gained, not just I gained from that, is, well, presence, right? Eunice and Would PH, or Sushi and Would PH, gave credit to the Pen Noobs podcast. For everyone that bought a pen cube, there was this little card that said we would really, we encourage you to follow Eunice Would PH and the Pen Noobs podcast. Or G, because this is Jika's design. And what I didn't, or what we as the podcast didn't get in money, we got, at least not, it's not economic gain, but it's moral gain as per the terminology. So after that, gain na. And that's the point that I'm trying to get at. Like, when we make something, often we think first about ourselves. I designed that pen cube because I hated having to like get the pen ink back. I don't like putting my pens up, right? But I like having the option so that when you're actively journaling, you just pick it up and it's easier, right? I designed that for myself, but eventually I got entangled into this um, intellectual property situation. And I think we navigated that well. Eunice, myself, and Wood PH navigated that well enough, right? Our rights are respected. We are gaining, if not economically, or maybe economically later, we're gaining morale in it. And maybe that's something to think about, guys. Like, when you're creating, is it enough for you that it's shared? Have you considered what you're going to do if someone takes it and doesn't give you credit? Like, are you gonna feel bad? Are you gonna celebrate? And like the personal becomes political.
Then of course there's a discussion of here's now the challenge between aesthetic versus putting a stamp on it. Maybe people will say, like, well, just put a stamp on it, like put your name on it. But then again, do we want to see photos of IG feeds with watermarks?
Oh my god! And then it's the big watermark all over the square. Horrible.
So that's why I'm gonna bring out the tea. So here's the tea. We're not gonna get into the specifics, but um, I think that was a month ago. Apologies, it's quite late, but a month ago, I do know of a very popular content creator. She does a lot of spreads, very beautiful, rustic, medieval-ish, classic like design. I don't even know the proper term. I remember you mentioned to me that aesthetic. I just can't remember now what it's called.
I don't remember either, but it seems it's very refined. It's very architectural, British. Okay, why are we just saying adjectives? Like it'll be there. Tea.
Basically, it's very well, if you watch Bridgerton, it looks like that. Like people journaling, but it has a lot of, it's very whimsical, I would say. And then scrapbook and all of that. And I do believe that she's gotten a lot of attention from many brands like Laban, Galen Leather, Esterbrook, etc., etc. But there's this one particular brand, I believe, that used one of her posts, one of the photos, wherein she took a photo of her content with the product that was given to her by the brand. Okay. And I don't know the full details of it, but based on the statement of the content creator, they had a meeting, I think through Zoom, talking about the terms.
What? Wait, after the drama or like before it?
Before the drama. Like, what are her conditions? And then the brand, I was close to say the name of the brand, like the brand was like, yeah, we'll do that. We'll note it on that. And this is the messy part now. So we're talking about, attributing the work. And in the website of that particular brand, it's there, but it's through a QR code. Like, you see the photo and then there's a QR code which leads you now to the attribution. It's not like this is the photo and then right below it is the person who created it. But it's more of like there's a QR code, and then that QR code, I believe, leads you now to, or a QR code or link that leads you now to who the creator is. So it's like the attribution is like a two-step thing. It's sort of like a one-step attribution. You know how like citations, instead of saying like the citation of the name of the author, you like see reference list.
Yeah. Horrible. But was it in the terms? I guess we don't have enough details about it. But like the terms and conditions between the bigger company and the content creator, baka hindi na pag-usapan.
Based on her statement, however, she did say that she wanted the attribution to be in this particular manner.
I did not know this.
It's really explicit, or like you can really see immediately that this work is attributed to an author, but the brand chose to do it in a different way, and I think that's where the drama lies. There is attribution, but it's not an immediate attribution. That's now the so is there moral is the moral right of the individual, I would say, was it attended to?
Oh, like that's where it's complicated, right? Because I mean, and maybe that's why we are promoting thinking about it, at least thinking about it, guys. Because I mean, big companies, and we all partake of products from big companies that are way richer, okay, than us and can buy us, right? If you think about it, like cover your bases. Because I mean, I didn't even think of that. If I was that person, if I was that content creator, and then I was just like, okay, my baseline is I want attribution. Okay. And you didn't know that there are different ways that attribution can be made. Well, then that will still impact your gains economically or quote unquote morally as per moral rights. Because like think about it, having an immediate attribution on a photo on a website at least is one step. So the way that the consumer gets to you as a content creator is easier when compared to say there's another QR code or another link that you got to click to get out of. So like that will have an impact on the engagement that you have. And I mean, we all eat. We all, at the end of the day, these things, they might just be clicks or they might just be like negligible navigations on a website or your social media platform. But I mean, like, is it so far fetched to assume that mere clicks can actually feed people? I mean, that's how YouTubers are rich. Clicks, right? And maybe it's something to consider that the impact of a click can actually be bigger than just a reshare or a repost, and like the gain of being so proud of yourself and patting yourself on the back. There's more to it.
There. So that's the muddy, messy situation we are at. And it's not really that we're discouraging people. It's not that. It's really more of just starting a conversation about these things that may seem mundane, or at times people have a particular perspective on this. And that's the reason why I did mention about community engagement and how brands participate in such practice, because it provides their brand value, and likewise for content creators it provides them value. But we get to see two sides of the coin and two perspectives, and we're not here to judge who's right, who's wrong, who's sensitive, who's insensitive, who did something wrong. But this is something that we just want to raise as a point for consideration for content creators and also for brands.
Yeah, if brands listen to us.
Not really.
That's the thing, we don't know. And still, guys, it's been a year, and really, podcasting does not make money.
Yeah, but we're just doing this for the sake of having a conversation with the community, and that's the value we get out of this. It's really being able to connect with people one way or another. So there.
Yeah. So it's a fulfilling way to start the new season, right?
Yeah. Because we'll be creating more. We'll be dealing with more individuals who create their own set of content or have a specific niche within the community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going to happen in season 2. People with diverse perspectives, diverse backgrounds, but share the same love, passion, enthusiasm for stationaries, fountain pens, inks, and everything else in between.
Oh, and to close things, guys, speaking of property, you have the chance to own a fountain pen case by me. Come on, guys. You can't let my boyfriend win. Come on, he's the only one that has commented. Please. We can't let him win. I'm sorry, Polu, but yeah. So again, the giveaway is still open until the end of the month, April 30th, when we will draw the winner who will receive a fountain pen case by me. Okay, and if you don't want it, that's all right as well. He will get it. Or I think there's another comment by Maine. So at least like 50-50. Either way, guys, I need to get it off my hands. I want it in someone else's possession as their property because I have no more space.
But yeah, it's beautiful. It's handcrafted. It's more of like if you're into wabi sabi, kind of wabi sabi. The perfect imperfection. That kind of style.
Oh, have you seen? Oh yeah, you've gotten yours. So how do you feel about the one you got? Be honest. Be honest.
Exactly that. It's wabi sabi. It's perfectly imperfect. There are imperfections to it, and if you appreciate that, then you will like it. I'm the kind of person who likes things that are very polished, and
Yeah.
that's why I can totally appreciate it, and I appreciate how you get to see, or you can even think of a story. I can
What?
imagine doing this. I'm like, oh my god, did she bleed while she was like? Did her hands bleed when she was doing this, or like, did she hurt herself?
There's
Like,
no blood on my product, guys. But speaking of, I've upped on my wabi sabi. Sorry, before we go, guys, I've updated the design of the pen case.
oh, so yeah, that is nice. Like, can you do that for me too? Joke.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm like before everyone leaves, I have to make for quite a few people already. But there's gonna be a drop toward the end or like after Holy Week. But that's the point. I gave you that. It is wabi sabi. Sorry, because I was still learning. But
It's
with
not.
yeah, and I wasn't ready to sell that stuff yet. But now I think I'm ready. And you see it on Instagram. And again, own my things, guys. Get stuff from me. And join the giveaway.
If you like something, if you like the charm of Traveler's Company, this is the kind of charm it has. I tell
Oh,
you.
really? Oh my god, that's such high praise.
Yeah, wabi sabi. Because like for example, this one is Galen leather. It's so polished, right? It's like
Oh, the case. What do you call that? The cover.
the cover. And then if you have here, like for example, the Traveler's Notebook, right? It's like rustic and has a lot of scratches. Well, you don't see so much of scratches, but yeah, there. So you look at that energy. Look at the vibe they give. Like,
Oh, the energy is. Oh, I did not think of that. I'll make a few more like that while I'm finishing making the really polished ones. But yeah. Sorry, I just had to like talk about the giveaway.
yeah, totally. There you have it. Join the giveaway because you'll be having one of the first. Well, I think it's the first
It
prototype.
is the first.
Yeah. So there.
Thanks, guys. See you in the next episode.
Yeah. See you in the next episode of Pen
Noobs!